This is Shelley Craft coming to you live on SNNLive. We're at the Sprott Natural Resource Symposium in Vancouver 2014. I have with me Scott McLean, Transition Metals. It's a publicly traded company, XTM, on the TSX Venture Exchange. Welcome to SNN.
Oh, thanks very much for having me.
It's good to have you. Let's get into it. Tell us about the company.
Well, Transition Metals Corp is a publicly traded prospect generator. We have about 25 projects across the country, amassing about 2,000 square kilometers of property that we're exploring. We've recently come up with a couple of really exciting projects, including our Sunday Lake Platinum discovery that's being funded by Impala Platinum out of South Africa, that is funding us 100% of that activity through to feasibility. We have a new discovery in the Abitibi called Haltane, which is very exciting. It's about 1,500 meters, excuse me, of open strike length, of brand new gold mineralization, which is looking very exciting. And we've also recently completed a strategic alliance with the Nunavut Resources Corporation, which is 100% owned by the Inuit people of the Kitikmeot region of Nunavut, and they are funding us to generate 50-50 joint ventures within that part of the world. Notably, we've just also recently spun out an exceptional project into a new private subsidiary called Sudbury Platinum Corporation, where we have an exceptional brownfields property in the Sudbury Basin, sandwiched between the Vale's Totten Mine, which was just put into production Q4 2013, and KGHM's Victoria project, which is currently under development.
That's a mouthful. That's really some exciting stuff. Just take 2 steps back to take 3 steps forward, and just explain exactly to our audience what a project generator is and how it is different from a company that only has one property.
Absolutely. So there's some key differences to a traditional junior compared to a prospect generator like Transition Metals Corp. Notably, a traditional junior typically has a single project, maybe 1 or 2, generally one flagship project. They tend to fund that solely by issuing equity or selling ownership in the company. By doing that, they have a high dilution rate, but at the end of the day, if they're successful and they do have a discovery, they end up with a high percentage of that discovery, sometimes 80 or even 100% of that discovery, but they've diluted the individual shareholders significantly by issuing lots of equity, and so the individual, you and me, own a smaller piece of the bigger pie. A prospect generator tends to focus on multiple projects. It has multiple opportunities to be involved in a discovery, but notably, it doesn't like to issue equity or sell ownership in the company as often as a traditional junior. And so what we do is we are more interested in selling interests in the assets we own rather than ownership in the company. That keeps our shareholders' equity dilution rate very low, and we have a good, tight share structure. But at the end of the day, if we do everything right, we will end up with multiple discoveries, be involved in multiple discoveries, but we may have a smaller interest in those discoveries, maybe even a minority interest, but we'll have kept the individual shareholders very tight and have a bigger piece of those pies.
You know, the popularity of project generators is really beginning to take off. The highly sophisticated financial minds are discussing these kinds of new, it's not new, but it's kind of getting more in vogue, because when the industry kind of shrunk, if you know what I mean, the project generators had some good projects going on, right?
Yep. Well, you're exactly right. We've been doing this for a while. We've been doing this since we started the company in 2007. We were directed by, we joined forces with one of the co-founders of Haywood Securities, actually, that helped us get started. And then Rick's come into the game quite recently with us as well. But we've been doing this for a while, and I think you kind of hit it on the nail on the head there. It's hard for junior companies to raise money by issuing equity these days. Their valuations are at all-time low. They're great buys for new investors at this rate, but they don't like to go out and have to raise money at this level because it's just too dilutive. So they end up falling into this project generator model where they look to have partners come in and help them with their projects. Notably, a good measure of a project generator is not necessarily the ability to go out and amass a bunch of different projects, a number of projects to work on. It's really, in my opinion, measured by the ability they have to attract partners. That's the marketability, that's the quality of the projects that they're bringing, the quality of the exploration team they're bringing to the measure of that is when they're actually able to go out and attract an Impala Platinum or attract a Nunavut Resources Corporation to deal with them rather than, and so just having the projects isn't the end of the game. It's really getting those partners in the door.
What do you think is the growth opportunity of a project generator versus going out as an investor and picking up one or two different stocks?
Right, so we're going to be involved in lots of different projects, right? So we're going to have lots of different irons in the fire, lots of different opportunities to get that discovery. And if you've ever watched a share, you know, the life of the share value of a company through time, it really never ever gets as high as it does in as a shorter period as it does at that discovery stage. So we're hopeful that our share price will be very reactive to the number of projects that we're working on, the number of discoveries that we will be bringing to the market, we hope, in the coming months, weeks, and years. And we will also be able to take advantage of selling those assets outright as they come closer and closer to discovery.
Scott, management is a key ingredient of these kinds of companies. Yeah. What's your team look like?
We got one of the best teams on the planet, in my opinion. We've actually, all of our backgrounds, or the core team, part of the team, has come out of the old Falconbridge group or the Extrata Nickel group. We've had a great discovery, a great track record of discovery. In fact, collectively, the team has amassed about 65 to 70 million tons of resources worth about $50 billion through our collective careers. We've received awards. For example, two of us are National Prospectors of the Year, delivered by the Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada. And just recently, this past year, 2013, the Transition Metals team, together with Impala Platinum, received the Ontario Discoverers of the Year for our discovery at Sunday Lake. So the thing I'd like to say is we got a great track record. You know, finding ore bodies is a kind of an addiction. There's nothing like finding one, going up on site, and seeing 300 or 400 people building a mine that you discovered, right? And having that is an addiction that we all like to have, and we're looking for our next fix.
What's your background exactly?
I'm a professional geologist. My background, my formal training is in geology. We have a team of 7 geoscientists that work with us. I worked primarily, came out of university and started working for Kidd Creek Mines Limited that became Falconbridge Limited, went through a number of iterations and ended up as Extrata Nickel. I worked for Extrata Nickel for a year before myself. Kevin Stevens, who is one of my partners, and my good buddy at Haywood Securities, David Elliott, kind of got together and formed a company, and that's how we started.
Well, you know, there's a beginning to everything, and a middle, and a future. That's the way I look at things.
Well, yeah, I think that's true, and we've had some very good grounding, some very good mentoring. Stepping out of a big company into the junior world is a big shift. You're not as smart as you think you are, and standing up there the first time, like I like to say, buck naked in front of my investors, telling them how great I am, was a very humbling experience.
I understand. Ladies and gentlemen, Scott McLean, let's get your website out there, please.
Sure.
I want to send our viewers.
Very good. Our website is www.transitionmetalscorp.com. So that's Transition Metals with an S, Corp.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, Scott McLean, Transition Metals. It's a publicly traded company. You might want to jot the symbol down. XTM on the TSX Venture. I'm Shelley Kraft. This is SNNLive, and we're coming to you from the Sprott Natural Resource Symposium here in Vancouver, 2014. Thanks again, Scott.
Thanks very much for having me, Shelley.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah.